Hi guys, so I've put together a muscle building fat burning workout, a calisthenics workout, bodyweight workout which you can do at home or in the park or in the gym or wherever you've got a bit of space, and there's no actual fitness or gym equipment required. However, I do make use of a couple of chairs and maybe a towel or a broomstick or something like that, but basically it's you, the floor and gravity. Now, in my opinion, when it comes to fat burning, building muscle is far more effective when you compare it to the likes of high intensity cardio. Whereas with high intensity cardio, you feel like you're getting a workout, but the actual fat burning benefits don't last very long beyond the actual workout itself. Plus, over time, you might find that your body becomes more efficient at doing these high intensity cardio workouts. So you'll actually end up burning less calories for doing the same workout. Whereas when it comes to building muscle, doing resistance-based workouts, if you're increasing the amount of muscle on your frame in your body, muscle requires a certain amount of energy in order to sustain it, in order to keep it alive. So the more muscle you have on your body, then the more calories that you'll burn all the time. Not just when you're moving, but also when you're resting, when you're sleeping or watching TV. So from that point of view, then strength building and muscle building is really an effective approach. There's other benefits that you can get from building strength and muscle. It would be hard to deny that our daily lives would probably improve slightly, at least, if we had a little bit more strength. So when it comes to wheeling the rubbish bins out onto the pavement for bin collection days, or when it comes to carrying heavy shopping bags from the car into the house, anything that involves any sort of lifting or pushing or pulling, then obviously building up a bit more strength is going to help with that. So what makes this particular workout a strength and muscle building workout is the repetition range that we're going to be targeting. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the jargon, a repetition is a single push-up or a single pull-up. Basically, if you did a group of 10 push-ups, then that would be known as 10 reps or 10 repetitions. And if you did those 10 repetitions of push-ups without taking a break in between, then that would be called a set. So that would be one set of 10 push-ups. So if you did 4 sets of 10 push-ups, maybe with a minute break in between each set, that will give you a total volume of 40 push-ups. So the rep range that we're going to be targeting is going to be between 8 and 15. And the reason for this is that sort of intensity level means that we're going to be stimulating the growth of the types of muscle fibers which have the highest potential for growth. So we want to be efficient in our workouts, and we want to target the muscle fibers which are going to grow quickest or the easiest to stimulate for growth. So the way that you actually keep to this rep range is that you make each exercise as difficult as it needs to be in order for you to stick within the 8 to 15 rep range. So if you find that you can do more than 15 reps of a particular exercise, then you know it's time to make it a bit more difficult. Either you add some weight or you choose a more difficult progression or variation of that exercise. And vice versa, if you find that you're unable to do at least 8 reps of a particular exercise, then you know that you need to find a way to make it slightly easier. So perhaps using less weight or by choosing a slightly easier variation of that exercise. Now, if you're one of those people who might get worried about putting on too much muscle or bulking up, yeah, that's not really going to happen with these workouts. Packing on a lot of muscle is really quite a difficult thing to do. It's not something that happens overnight, so don't worry about doing these sorts of workouts and then suddenly transforming into the Incredible Hulk. That's just not going to happen. So the way that this workout is structured is that there are 3 warm-up movements which should raise your core body temperature and get your muscles and your joints ready for action. And then the main core of the workout is done in a circuit fashion. So there are a number of exercises, different exercises, and you will do 1 set of each exercise. You'll take a short rest in between, but then after you've completed one set for each of the exercises, then that will be considered one round. And the number of rounds that you'll do will depend on your level of ability. Those of you who have not really done much exercise before, or if you're a beginner, you might find that one round is enough. What I would suggest is that you do these workouts at least twice a week with at least a day's rest in between. Ideally, you'll do it 3 times a week, again with a day of rest in between. So for example, you do these workouts on Monday, Wednesday and Friday. And for those of you who've got a little bit of fitness experience behind you, then you might want to try for 2 rounds. And then of course see how you get on. Again, I'd suggest doing at least twice a week, ideally 3 times a week. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, just make sure you get a day of rest in between each workout. No matter what level you're at, as the weeks go by, you see you making some progress, then of course you can add additional rounds, maybe up to a maximum of 4 rounds, but then maybe look to actually increase the intensity of the exercises that you do. So either add more weight or just make them more difficult, choosing harder progressions, for example. And so with that, let's take a look at the workout. And here is the workout, which consists of 3 warm-up exercises. You'll be doing each one of these for a minute each. No rest in between the warm-up exercises, but you do get a 1 minute of rest after you've completed all 3 warm-up exercises. And then you've got the 7 core exercises that make up each round. First up is the squat jumps in and out. And you're going to be starting off with your feet in a slightly wider than shoulder width stance. When you bend your knees, make sure that your knees track in line with the direction your toes are pointing in. Keep your core braced and your back nice and flat, and keep your arms raised. Next up, we've got the bear crawl. And for this, you're going to be on the balls of your feet and on your hands. You're going to keep your knees off the ground. Try and keep your shoulders about the same level as your hips, and keep your back nice and flat. Again, keep your core engaged. And last warm-up exercise, we've got some lying down angels. And for this, you're going to be keeping your legs straight, keep your knees and your feet off the ground, keep your shoulders off the ground, keep your arms nice and straight. Try to avoid shrugging your shoulders, but do reach out forward as far as you can with your palms facing downwards, and then as you bring your arms behind your back, gradually rotate your palms so that they face upwards. Okay, first main exercise are goblet squats. Now you're going to be holding a weight in front of your chest. Keep your back flat, keep your core engaged, and keep your stance slightly wider than the shoulder width. Your knees should be bending in line with the direction of your toes. Try and go down to the count of 3 and then just power your way back up. Second main exercise is the bodyweight row, and as you can see, I'm using a pair of garden chairs with these handy handles at the back that I can grab hold of. If you don't have these, you can use a stick or a broomstick or something to prop in between 2 dining chairs to give you the same effect. And as you can see, as I'm pulling so that my arms pull to around the same level as my chest. My body line is nice and tight all the way through. I'm not shrugging my shoulders. And if you need an easier variation, then you can bend your legs. If you're looking for a bit more of a challenge, then you can elevate your feet. And next up we have the push-up. Now the push-up should be done with your body flat, keep your core braced. My shoulders are protracted here, don't let them sink, don't shrug up. Now if you have a look at my forearms, they're staying pretty much vertical and using full range of motion all the way up to lockout and all the way down to touch the floor very lightly. And if you look at this from another perspective, you can see the angle that my upper arms are forming against my body is about 45 degrees. Just make sure that your elbows aren't flowing out to the sides and that they're not sticking close to your body. 45 degrees is a nice sort of midway point. If you're looking for an easy variation, then you can go onto your knees. And if you're looking for more of a challenge, if you can do more than 15 push-ups, then do feel free to have a go at these archer push-ups. For the arm that's not bending, you want to try and keep that as straight as possible. And next up we have a single leg bridge. Now the main thing to concentrate here is to make sure that you don't arch your back overly. If you can, create a little bit of a posterior pelvic tilt, and you do that by slightly tucking your pelvis under you, and make sure that you're doing both sides, and that when you're pushing, that you're really pushing using your hamstring as well as your glutes. If that's a little bit too difficult with a single leg, then you can use both legs. And just a note to say that if you move your feet further away from your bum, then that'll actually target more of your hamstrings. And if you're looking for more of a challenge, just add some weight. Next up, we've got alternating toe touches. Now for here, you're going to be starting off with your arms and your legs on the ground, and then just crunching up and touching the opposite toe. Try to avoid using too much momentum with your arms, and try and crunch from the midsection. And again, control it on the descent. That's a little bit too difficult, then you can start off in a yoga boat pose and do some elbow to knee crunches. There's a fun little balance element to this. If you're looking for a bit more of a challenge, then you can keep your arms and your feet and your legs elevated at all times. Next up we have the power push away. Now for this, you're going to be on your balls of your feet and your hands, and you're going to keep your hips nice and high. Your back will be relatively flat, and as you go forward, as you drop down, you sink forward so that your head goes in front of your hands and your body goes in at a slight angle. You'll see better from this side. And then make sure you're actually using your arms and your shoulders to push yourself back up and not just relying on your core. To make this a little bit easier, you can go onto your knees. Same thing applies, make sure you're pushing with your shoulders and your arms. Now for an extra bit of challenge, you can do your pike push-up. This, you're keeping your hips really high, keep your legs straight onto the balls of your feet, make sure your forearms, try and keep them as vertical as possible, and bring your head really quite far forward in front of your hands. And lastly, we have a prone lat pull down. Now for this, you're going to be keeping your shoulders, your arms and your straight legs off the ground at all times. You're going to be reaching forward as far as you can. Lock out your arms straight, and then simply just bring your elbows back behind you as far as you can. For an additional challenge, you can use a stick or maybe a resistance band, or as you can see, I'm using a towel here. If you can try and keep it pulled taut as you bring it behind your neck, this just makes it a little bit harder. And there you have it. That's the full set of 7 exercises, which makes up one round of this circuit. If you are going to be going on to do additional rounds, then do take a minute rest in between each round. Also, do let me know how you get on.